टेंशन. अब फॉर एग्जांपल देखो स्टेट की एक और एग्जांपल लेते हैं here. Suppose we are not aware. Aware with the idea. Yesterday it was a news on Kibuthu. So do you know where it is? Kibuthu, one of the very must-known location. Kibuthu. Must keep in mind this location. Reason behind it, it is the easternmost village. Arunachal Pradesh. Easternmost village of India. The easternmost village. Now we have idea that it is easternmost village. Now suppose a question comes this way, in which state this village is located, and we know very well that this way India is split there, so we can identify that it must be in Arunachal Pradesh. So that is not very, we can say, tukka kind of thing. It is our understanding, and that is a result of our study, our correlations. So prelims examination is based on, not based on information, it is based on concept. Concept clear है फटाफट बनाते. If suppose we are aware with the location of China, in that case if question comes we can identify the state along with the China. तो जहां कहीं भी concept की बात आएगी, we should improve our concept. Fact are secondary, whether it is prelims, whether it is mains. If suppose current event is there, and if current, suppose recently what happens last night, this group of company, even central government with support of this Mittal, it is Mittal or any other very Honda, Brijmohan Munjal it is. So government decided that we will develop 3 semiconductor industry. So now suppose it may be a fact for a student, but you are suppose very sincere student. In that case, you will search about the semiconductor. What are the strength of semiconductor? What are the weaknesses of semiconductor? How it will promote our development? So if you develop that kind of tendency, this will no longer be a fact. Rather, it would be transformed into a concept. तो उसके बाद वो क्वेश्चन आराम से बनेगा. So that is the thing. We should care each and every fact. ठीक है, तब वो easy हो जाएंगे. हाँ तो
क्वेश्चन था रैशनल एंड न्यूट्रल ब्यूरोक्रेसी का न्यू पीए जो पब्लिक चॉइस अप्रोच था वो अपोज कर रहे हैं. तो इसका बारे में खास
रेशनल और न्यूट्रल. देखो न्यूट्रल ब्यूरोक्रेसी मीन्स indifference bureaucracy. Indifferent means whether it is poverty, whether it is hunger, whether it is suppose disablement. Now consider this approach. One day police station has opened and a wounded victim was there. Suppose it was a rape victim is there. Now police started autocratic behavior. First ask them what happened, now explain the matter. It is shameful or not? It is very simple. It require very first the psychological treatment. It require some sort of support. It require. Thereafter, you should ask. But what bureaucracy does? It treats each individual with similar pattern. So that is indifferent way. If we saw that something going wrong, in that case, it require proactive police persons, proactive administration. So this approach say no. Now, you should care for the people concerned. Only you will prove your existence. Only you will have trust of the people. So this is the पहला वाला पॉइंट क्या था? हाँ, न्यूट्रल ब्यूरोक्रेसी. तो दिस इज द न्यूट्रल ब्यूरोक्रेसी, केस ऑफ न्यूट्रल ब्यूरोक्रेसी. रेशनल. So rational when it comes in public administration. So rational means what? Rational is the ability of individual decides the matter on the basis of fact without involving the emotions, without involving their values. If suppose fact say, now consider here, about 1,000 crore rupees given to the district magistrate, and government said that you should spent this money for the purpose of Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. Okay, it happens. Soon after that, during June, July, it was the monsoon season. What happens? So inundation of the river happens and the entire area experience the heavy flood. Now DM Sahab what did? So earlier approach says that DM Sahab should strictly follow the guidelines and it must not decide the expenditure where it should be or it should not be. If it is a wise person, in that case, they may take some money for flood rehabilitation. So that is the problem. If flood is being avoided only after Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, so the modern approach says that they should lead, they should invest their emotion, they should consider the real problem. If real problem is not targeted, the existence of bureaucracy is worthless. तो ये आइडिया है कि केवल आप रूल रेगुलेशन, यू शुड नॉट बी अ मैसिव, दैट इज रिसनल. हाँ, वो बिल्कुल फॉरवर्ड कह रहा है कि नहीं, यू शुड फॉलो द गाइडलाइंस, यू शुड फॉलो द नॉर्म्स, बट हियर व्हाट रिक्वायर डेडिकेशन, commitment. Only then people concerned will be sought out. Otherwise, it is very impossible. Dekho, it is very obvious. Use and misuse. Now here you should take again example. Suppose we open the gate. So it will provide us fresh air. Fresh air will enter through the gate. Again, some mosquito will enter. Both kind of thing will be there, means merit and demerit both are there. So we should not avoid the merit arising from the thing. We should take some proactive measures to prevent the misuse, to prevent the things. So always on the name of or on the basis of misuse, we cannot we can say avoid the positive things. Recently what happens, like suppose in India what happened earlier, good Smartian law it is. Have you heard this? Good Smartian or Smartian law it is something. Earlier it happened that suppose there is road accident and you suppose you are a commuter there. You saw that victim, wounded person is there. So if you have provided any assistance, in that case, you should explain, you will be responsible for the explanation for this incident before the police. अब क्या हो रहा है? Now it changed. Now government says that no, if people are doing social services, they must be recognized, they must be protected. तो observation usually changes. तो यही सिमिलरिटी है. हाँ, सब कुछ अब किया जा रहा है. अब लोगों को, people are taking this wisely. Reason behind it, that is why system are changing. Earlier government recognized that we are political leaders are the caretaker of society. Now public administration what say no, not merely the political leaders. It is the duty of the bureaucrats as well to serve the people, to uphold the social beliefs, social customs. Now it supports the proactive role of the bureaucrats. So this thing happened. So अब चेंज हो रहा है. ये सब्जेक्ट कह रहा है कि you should go ahead. अब चलते हैं next part of this topic. So we earlier discussed some idea about the new public management and we saw what happens. So several problem new public administration. So earlier administration were organized on the principle of impersonality, structure, even the managerial principle, etc. were the idea of bureaucracy. So this led to the destruction, to inefficiency, even the ineffectiveness of administration again. So what happens thereafter? Christopher Hood and this David Osborne attempted to change the government exercise method, and finally it all culminated into the new approach that is called new public management. And new public management endorses, supports the idea of autonomy, result oriented, performance oriented, competition, private sector management, customer oriented, downsizing the government. So we discussed this aspect during the last classes. Now we discuss the limitations and demerits of this. No, first we will discuss the reinventing government, idea of reinventing government. So in addition to the cardinal principle of new public management, the David Osborne and Gabler wrote a book, this the reinventing government. Means government should reinvent it. Earlier, what was the role of government? You should consider when it comes to green revolution, what did government started funding the farmers, as well as government established fertilizer industries. Government developed the canal system for green revolution. Means government took participation itself. Means government steered the activity. It says that no, now government should consider that government can regulate the functions and public sector can lead the activities. So this was the idea of reinventing government, and it identified the 10 comprehensive set of features for the new government. After this, David Osborne, reinventing government. It would be a separate question here. It says first, catalyst. Catalyst government means government should not suppress the individual strength or the strength of the private sector. Rather, government should promote all such sectors. For example, government says focus on catalyzing public, private, and volunteer sector. It means private sector are able to do something. In that case, government should provide electricity, law and order, even opportunities for that private sector. And if it is there, in that case, competition will be there, growth of new industry will be there, even in other word, we can say a startup ecosystem should be developed by the government, and a startup can lead the role of the leaders. So this approach government should absorb, should accept. Earlier, what was the role of government? So earlier government held that no, private sector can not provide the services to our citizens. Only government can fulfill the requirement of citizen. So government lead the affairs, and now it says that no, government should not lead, rather government should promote. So promotion of private sector, it stresses community owned government. Community owned means that look, government, so earlier nature and structure of government was different. Only some elite aware people were considered the participant for government. Now what happens? Government say no, marginalized segment, downtrodden community, all must have fair representation in government. So they say that citizen should give and resolve their problem, and government should push control services out of bureaucracy. It means that community should give an power to control their affairs, as well as community should offer the participation. Competitive government. So you know very well, even Niti Ayog advances the idea of competitive federalism. So what? Federalism. Cooperative, competitive. What is the meaning of competitive federalism or competition? So competition is kind of exercise, kind of we can say exercise that refers the, we can say, a strategy to win two or more people when compete for the particular field or particular segment. It is called competition. So competition is not a new thing. Rather, it is a natural, it is a organic thing. You know very well, tiger and lion both compete each other. What happens? Survival of fittest is the result of competition. So only who survive, they have competed this things. So here what happens? So government should promote competition. Competition among whom? So competition between the government agencies, competition among government and the private sectors. So this will ultimately improve the competence, even the strength, even productivity, even the qualities. And if quality, productivity will up to the mark, citizen will have optimal services. So this was the idea. As far as competitive federalism is concerned, so competitive federalism is the idea mooted by the Niti Aayog with respect to the competition among the state. It says that a state should carry out businesses in the sector like education, health, industrial promotion, and should beat each other. This way, we have an efficient model of a state and cooperation. So this is the idea of competition. अपने में सब कंपटीशन करो और एक अच्छा रिजल्ट लेके आओ. So here competition, competitive government. Again, it's a mission driven. Mission driven means, consider here the incident occurred in India. It was surgical strike. What happened during surgical strike? Only few group of army personnel was there, and they did a very commendable job. So that is the thing. Similarly, this says that the agency or government should consider their work are not merely the work. This is the mission and they must succeed in that mission. So providing services is not their daily job. Rather, it is for the community, it is for the state. So this say mission and not by rule regulation. If mission require, suppose additional effort, so government should allow. Go ahead and do the job, what you think, result oriented. So mission must be interconnected with the result. If we have decided that we will provide the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana to our dwellers, in that case, after 5 years, at least 60 to 70% houses must be constructed. That is the result. Again, customer driven government means if suppose people are looking for suppose doorstep services, means people now our economy also changed, so people may not have time to visit the government offices and they are looking for doorstep services. So in that case, government should consider and try to provide services at their doorstep. Now it is happening. We can avail several services through online mode. That is the thing here. So customer. Again, next is enterprising government. Achha, is there any difference between entrepreneurship and the business? Or both are the same thing?
I think
business is kind of commercial. Development of a new kind of activities, new kind of industries is called. Earlier it was entrepreneurship, now it might become a startup. So here what happens, usually what happens, public sector take a risk and they invest money in a rising industry or industry that may have some sort of potential, like electronic vehicle. So it is an act of Tata to introduce this electronic vehicle. This is the example of entrepreneurship. So entrepreneurship or entrepreneurship. So it says that government should put energy into resource mobilization, and again, government should take care earning money. If government is developing a thing, like suppose we are constructing the road, so road must not be a burden on government. Rather, government should consider that road can be a profitable work, profitable venue. Again, anticipatory government. So anticipatory government means what? Forecast, future forecast. If government suppose recognizes, now here consider 2011 census says that about 31% population now lives in urban area and just about 69% is in rural area. So it is a very new trend. Again, the data says that in future the growth of or the demand of urban area will be more greater, will be higher. So it is the anticipation. Now look what happens. Recognizing this tendency, soon after that government announced a new policy for the development of urban area. It is a smart city mission. So 100 smart city will be developed in future to accommodate this migration of the people from the rural area to urban area. That is called anticipation. So anticipation, government should identify and prevent problem rather than cure them after their occurrence. So suppose if we are not aware with that shift, in future what would be consequent? Urban slum. So rise of slum area will be the result if we are not able to accommodate that population. Decentralized government. Now, what is the difference between decentralized and centralized government? Both are the same or?
Centralized means we can say that when it comes to top to bottom approach, it is centralized government.
Centralized government.
When it is bottom to top approach, it is
Decentralized government. Now, tell me relation between the people. Which government is close to the citizen? Decentralized government. So if decentralized government is there, in that case people can make a demand that, sir, no water is there, no electricity is there, provide us as early as possible. Again, getting idea, getting this demand, they can produce the better result. If centralized is there, there may not interaction, there may not this kind of discussion, dialogue or communication. We can say there may lack of communication between the peoples and their problem with the government. तो सेंट्रल पता नहीं होता है, लोग बगल में रहेंगे, तो in that case people may be informed with that idea. So that is the decentralized. So government should decentralize authority, and decentralize promotes participation of people. And if people are there, suppose people are taking active role, in that case they will hold accountable the bureaucracy. They can check the execution of the policy. Suppose road is about to construct, so in that case if construction work is delayed, in that case they can ask authority why this kind of thing is going on. So this way government will be very responsive, very people centric. Now again, market oriented means earlier market, you know very well, in India who constructed railway? Britishers. So Britishers was a state or kind of investors. This is the thing. Exactly the same thing. Our makers of constitution felt that, realized that if we offer opportunity to this private sector, they may misuse our resources, and exploitation will be the consequence of this market-based economy. That is why they were reluctant to open the economy. But by 90s, it became very clear to all that without interfering market or allowing market, we cannot even develop a route. So that was the thing. It says that government should prefer market mechanism and takes lessons from the market. Like suppose what market does. Uh, Here you can understand with an example. Suppose Tata launched the Nano model. What happens after 1 or 2 years? It was a failed model. Thereafter, Tata withdraw this model, and no such production continued. Similarly, government should identify that this scheme is suppose profitable, is suppose very we can say result oriented. It is beneficial. In that case, it must continue. Like suppose Manrega. Why Manrega? Even Manrega was declared by UPA first. Here it is NDA government. So despite this change, Manrega continued. Why it continued? Means this government realized that it has some sort of benefit, and this benefit cannot be discontinued. So that is why it continued. This government, like suppose schemes like, so earlier it was central sponsored scheme. Now tradition change. Now lump sum amount is being given to the state government. Reason behind it, government realized that that approach is not very fruitful. So essay this way, a market-oriented strategy can provide us idea which services should continue or which services should discontinue. Now what happens thereafter? So the overall idea of this NPM, as it was worthful, it was revolutionary, and we can say it was very phenomenal for the bureaucracy. So it disseminated all around the world. No country even remain unaffected with this idea. Everywhere this happened. Even in UK, white paper competing for quality is stated public service will increasing moving to culture where relationships are contractual than bureaucratic. Means United Kingdom continued this policy and they promoted this everywhere. Means debureaucratization began with the advent of this. Abolishment of redundant activity, privatization of certain activity, contracting out, decentralization. This began in UK. Again, UK officially announced this next step program during 1970 to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of government operation, and they gave autonomy. Even majority of staff were again they headed by the chief. So autonomy were granted to the institution. Again in Canada, a special operating agency were created, which are service unit within the department with the mandate undertaking specific activities. Singapore, senior civil servant are paid salaries commensurate with the international standard. Malaysia also implemented, and efforts are on towards giving due recognition to organization individual who are innovative. Similarly, South Africa also encouraged this kind of activity. So everywhere in the world, the new public administration change the bureaucracy, change the government activities. So this was the outcome. What was result in India? Here India is not there. Okay, limitations are there. What happened in India? So we have read several things in India. So in India, what happens with new economic policy? Government officially announced the LPG reform, a structural reform. The very first idea came. Again, we saw during public sector undertaking topic that MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, were signed with the PSU, public sector undertakings, and they given autonomy. Maharatna, Navratna, Mini Ratna were announced, and it was for autonomy. Again, we allowed the private investment. This was PPP model. We implemented. We again implemented downsizing the government. Means several department were abolished by the government. Again, we standardize our payment and service condition, and we offered the best payment for civil servant. Pay commission came back to back, and nowadays bureaucracy reached at their optimal stage. Again, outsourcing, contracting, we promoted. So India also did the same thing. New public management become the very, we can say, operational idea even for India. You can add here, like suppose 93rd Amendment Act as well. With this act, what happened? The size of cabinet were standardized. So size of cabinet also standardized and department activity limited. So this way, what happens? So nowhere in the world we can say NPM remain to NPA has affected the entire world. Now we will discuss the challenges and limitation pertaining with the NPM. Acha, we will discuss later this point. Tell me, is there any benefit we saw with advent of NPM? Is there any benefit we can recognize here? Benefit like, suppose, tell me any benefit? Now we are availing doorstep services. E-government, M-government is there. Is there grievance redressal mechanism? Even Lokpal Lokayukta is there. RTI is there. So grievance redressal, consumer satisfaction, people satisfaction is there. Again, people participation is there or not? So it increased, it improved, even government transparency, good governance model. Again, citizen charter is there. So we can say transformation it led. It changed the overall administration, even corruption controlled, even ICT. With advent of ICT, what happens? So our efficiency improved manifold. Now even government implemented that. So this reform changed the administration. That is true. But the fact is that this concept is also criticized on the basis of several argument, on the basis of several ground. Very first criticism is that it avoided the publicness in the suppose public administration. Here, what is the meaning? Publicness or the public aspect. It said that it has faded the public aspect and it highlighted the managerial aspect. Publicness were faded away with advent of this. Why government is there? Government is for making profit or providing services to the people. So why we accepted this democratic government? Britishers was also there, and they also made some services to us. So we accepted the democratic model of government to have services, to have facilities, to have representation, participation. This was the idea. So public administration must not be enterprises. The very clear-cut idea is that it says that bureaucracy should transform and it must be a business entity, but it is not right. Here, the best example you should consider. If we say running a school, take example here, running a school. So in Delhi, suppose a school is there. A school, if suppose run by government, here lump sum student, very handful students are there. So there may be a school running a profitable business for anyone. But what about the hilly region? So if we take economic principle, what public choice approach also said, in that case, government should avoid that region. Region behind it, there is no such consumers, no such students, no such, we can say, payment there. So it will create burden on government expenditure. So this idea says that manage the things on the basis or keeping the economic principle in the central. Social equity NPA. new public administration. It is NPM, new public management. So it say that incorporate idea of the private sector, market based idea. It says that take. So market based idea if we take, then we should close our school at Ladakh region, Arunachal region, even all such service service should be. So equality, justice, affirmative action. Affirmative action. What is affirmative action? Affirmative action is the kind of government direct interference, involvement in the development, upliftment of downtrodden community or groups. Means that government actually, have you read polity or not? Polity हो गया है. You no polity. अच्छा, still remain. Have you read Article 15, Article 17, 16, Article 16?
Abolition of discrimination, prohibition of discrimination and
equal opportunity in job. अब देखो, Article 15 is divided into two parts. The Article 1 and 2 says that a state will not discriminate people on the ground of caste, creed, religion, race, etc. But merely this kind of behavior cannot ensure a very fair, very equitable society. So what a state does, those who are not able to meet this equality, this level of equality, government has asked. Article 15.3 is there. So a state has said by the constitution to do something for women, for children, for ST, for SC. यहाँ पे. So that are the example of 4, 5 example of affirmative actions, and the state has guided very clearly to strive to endeavor some effort for the betterment of that community. So if it is our constitutional mandate, how can we accept the idea of market that only cares for the profit? So affirmative action may lead to burden on government expenditure, and government is providing subsidies, government is providing job, government is providing houses to that classes. So it must be stopped. So NPM avoids that, as NPM restrict that things, and that cannot be true for the this kind of Indian society. Again, client versus citizen. NPM says promotes the idea of client satisfaction. Client satisfaction means consumer orientation is the principal concern for this. But can we say that citizens are being avoided with this consumer-based approach? Suppose who is consumer? Who is consumer? Who avails the services? But what about whom who have not availed the services? Like suppose we have constructed the road, and you know very well that two-wheelers, four-wheelers are required to pay some road tax, but cycle are not required to pay road tax. In that case, can we say that you should not ride this road? You are not eligible for this road. So that will be denial for the citizen's right. So here what it did, it respected for citizen, but it avoided, it respected for consumer, but it disrespected the citizen. And here the fundamental concern is that citizen is more, we can say, more active participant in government rather than citizens. Actually, it is a legal entity. Government are not the private body. Like suppose we are not purchasing Colgate or toothbrush. It is kind of legal status of citizen if citizens are not being treated well. Suppose there is a slum area and drinking water is not very appropriate, not very healthy. In that case, even they are not paying the money. Can we say that providing very, we can say, dirty water is a good government? ऐसा तो नहीं हो सकता है. they are the legitimate stakeholder of this state. So that we must respect both, whether it is the consumer, whether it is non-consumer. So government should respect this consumer, not citizens, not blindly follow the idea of consumerism.
Article 21 also talks about dignified.
हाँ, तो consumerism may promote a very class differentiation in India, and only the rich, only the very we can say the wealthy people may have representation in the government, may have respect from the government administration. The poor, downtrodden, they who cannot afford the government services may face deprivation, may face isolation. So this will be result if we follow this kind of thing. So this is not basically, again one more thing, customer. So customer and citizen. So here citizen is the legitimate stakeholder of a state. State is the, we can say, result of the consensus of citizen. We the people of India clears this point. So citizens must not be denied for the services. Again, some people says that it is the old wine in a new bottle. Means it is not a very fresh idea. Rather, even L.D. White, Henry Fayol, even Luther Gulick endorsed, supported the idea of managerialism. And earlier, several scholars said that management should be very, we can say, sound, should be very effective to provide the services. Again, one more thing against this, it promotes politico-administration dichotomy. Politico-administration dichotomy means it cares for administrative efficiency, administrative effectiveness. It has nothing to do with the social equity, justice, even the equality among citizens. So it said it considers that the political functions are the part of politics. Administration is just for executing the policies, and this cannot be said true. Reason behind it, if we follow this, we may have the conflict, confusion at workplace, and even policy cannot be formulated or be again according to United Nations. So United Nations interfered this, and it says that one of the biggest approach to world's public sector, it is anti-state ideology. Means the highlight, it is highlighted by United Nations. Why it considered anti-state? So very critical thing here. It what promote? It says that role of bureaucracy should be limited. Suppose we say that our functions should be executed by the public sector, private sector. So private sector may have motivation about the profit. Profit orientation shall be the motive of the private sector. So what happens over the time, the authority, the power may be transferred to the private sector. And now a state with very lean and thin administration remain. At that point of time, a state would not be able to control the monopoly of the private sector. So this led ultimately to the weakening, to the suppose sickness of the state, and that will be the result. So this was earlier also highlighted that bureaucracy cannot be given away, cannot be boycotted. Rather, if we avoid this bureaucracy, one day we may face the rise of private sector capitalism again, and this led to exploitation. This will execute the deprivation. This may result into deprivation. So that will be the result. So here several issue was there. Philosophy, rolling back of a state. Here one more interesting story with India. What happens? In 1991, we announced the LPG reform. Thereafter, what happens? So about 2004, we executed this retreat of a state policy. It was the time UPSC invited application for about 250 candidates. It was the overall recruitment announced by UPSC. Now you can see advertisement. So here it is about 1,000, 1,500 kind of vacancy announced by the UPSC. So since 1991 up to 2004, the number of vacancy UPSC decreased enough. Just about 350, 250 posts were announced. State PCS, 50 to 60 posts they announced, they invited application for 50 to 60 posts. Banking sector witnessed the same policy. Even bank PO vacancy were almost ended, almost stopped. Only 50 seat ones announced invited by the SBI kind of organization. So what happens? Meanwhile, government experienced the shortage of IAS and IPS officers. So it was the report, official report in India. And what happens? Official report, particularly with respect to Naxalism. So when Naxalism become very uncontrolled activity, and a committee suggested that we should increase immediately filling of IPS post. So by 2004-5, suddenly government started announcing vacancy of 1,000, 1,200, 1,500 officers with this civil services examination. So about 10 years we witnessed this faulty policy, and that was called very unique name is there, jobless growth. So it was the era of jobless growth when it was actually misinterpretation of the thing. Government realized that if we suppose decrease the post, we may increase the efficiency, but it was not true. Without recognizing the strength, we should not do so. Again, over emphasis on efficiency. So efficiency, like suppose we say that, for example, take here. Suppose there is a police station and the police station has not even recorded a single FIR throughout the year. Can we say it is efficient? It may possible they have not written any FIR. So efficiency cannot be a parameter. If efficiency is there, suppose road construction is going on and road required to suppose siege the cultivative land. Cultivative land, suppose it is the 3 crop land. In that case, it will not be beneficial. It may hinder our food. That is again risk of tunnel vision. Tunnel vision means a very limited or very confined vision. Means we are not looking additional aspect like sustainable development issue, like suppose protection of minority, like suppose affirmative action. So if we cares for that, we may propagate or may support the idea of efficiency economy, etc. So where manager focus narrow measurable outcomes. And can we say all such things can be measured? If suppose we are dealing with bureaucracy, so can we say all such thing can be measured? The performance of bureaucracy can be measured on quantifiable, identifiable data. Like suppose a bureaucrat IAS officer is there and he is very polite, he is very humble, even he pay even additional hours for the welfare of people. So can we say it can be measured on mathematical data? How humble how can we measure the humble, even dedications, this kind of thing? So it basically makes administration impersonal, and administration require personal dedication. So that is the demerit here. Again, erosion of public service value. So public service, it has nothing to do with dedication, commitment, even citizen-centric approach. It cares only for efficiency, effectiveness, even transparency, accountability, all such kind of thing. So that will not provide the exact thing. Again, देखो picture. So this is also doing the job. This person is also executing the job. Manual or the rule manual say that yes, he has visited the office, he has visited the hospital. But this way, if somebody visits, it will be not considered appropriate. It must be criticized by anyone by saying this kind of attitude. So NPM say no, he visited, that is enough. But public service say no. Visit must be very dedicated, must be respectful. So mechanical and commercial nature of this is very critical, is very derogatory for. Again, civil services value. Again, one more thing here. We will take this later. We take here. What about the contribution made by civil servant? Suppose this person, IAS officer, and now see this picture. So he basically attempted to provide this flood relief as much as possible. This kind of thing cannot determined by the NPM. It require very humanistic, very dedicated effort. Value it require. Without having value, no one can do this kind of job. Again, secretary is. Secretary means the topmost post it is. Why he is doing so? So this kind of thing basically says that public service is quite different. It is not kind of selling the telephone or selling the products. It is devotion. And devotion, actually service here. It is not kind of, we can say, business or enterprises. And service can only be happen if individual feels about that. Human have two ability. Public administration revolve around two abilities. One is thinking, one is feeling. So this is related with thinking. This is not related with feeling. NPM was for feeling. NPA was for feeling. This is for thinking. So only rational behavior cannot promote this kind of activity. Now, one more thing. It says that activity should transfer to the private sector and private sector should given appropriate space. Now, look here. In America, in Britain, private sector can do so. Reason behind it, this they are well developed, well established. What about in India? The one thing is that first thing we should consider, our people are not so rich, so wealthy. If पैसा ही नहीं दे पाएंगे, if suppose people are there, so they cannot afford this kind of costly service. Government, if say that no medical services will be provided by the private hospitals, how a rickshaw puller can afford that cost? How suppose a poor family can afford the cost? So here Gangaram, you know very well. So Gangaram hospital is there. They charges even more than 1 lakh rupees for a day.
But they also provide something like
Ultra modern. So can a rickshaw puller afford this?
सर वो सुबह में शायद 8 से 10 बजे तक वो 100 या 20 रुपए में ऐसे करके ट्रीटमेंट करते हैं।
अच्छा ऐसा है।
मतलब एक बार हमको पता चला था कि सुबह में वो कुछ 100 के आसपास लोगों को देखते हैं 20 रुपए 100 रुपए।
अच्छा, तो it may possible, but the thing is that this is very costly hospital and it is very unaffordable. A poor person cannot afford this kind of services. So that is the issue with that. Our people are quite poor, quite BPL, so they cannot afford the private services. And that will be basically democratic process again, and this things here. Now, what I said, so old wine in new bottle, what Henry Fayol said, what Gulick said. So all stresses, all emphasis for what? For managerial efficiency. And this again endorses that with some sort of new idea. So this was the thing. So what should be the way forward? Can we say it should avoided, it should keep aside?
कोई कोई एरिया जैसे अर्बन एरिया होगा वहां पे ये ज्यादा अच्छा सेटअप करेगा
हाँ, we should not blindly follow this concept. Rather, we should first identify the area strength. If we feel that it is appropriate, the managerial change should be executed there, should be imparted there, only then we should go ahead. If other kind of thing is there. So here what happens, the suggestions is very clear. So public administration here, here the thing, so it would be better to have some new tenants, some new idea with this NPM. And who forwarded to Denhart and Denhart, scholars from USA suggested that why not it should clubbed, it should accompanied with more idea, more thoughts. And he says that it need to align with the new public service concept. We'll discuss this topic later. New public NPS means serve, the basic tenets of serve rather than steer. So only steering the economy is not enough. If suppose people are very marginalized, if people are suffering, in that case, government should do something for their betterment. Means this idea should be there. Again, public interest as much as possible. Public interest. Public interest means overall interest must be protected, must be upholded. And this not considered a byproduct. Byproduct means if we develop the road, public will have the benefit. We should consider each and every individual use this, this and this provide thing. Again, think strategically and act democratically. It means that a public administrator should consider the long-term impact as well as all such associated dimension. Is whenever a strategy comes, you should keep in mind two things. A strategy refers involvement of two things, that is overall and long term. So we should consider that the suppose management, so suppose downsizing the government. So first we should identify downsizing government is essential or there is an alternate, or what would be the negative impact of downsizing the government. Downsizing of government may create joblessness. The very first drawback of this policy may create a very lean and thin government. Suppose here, if say downsizing of government we have executed, and rise of Naxalism, rise of terrorism, suppose illegal activity is going on, who will control that? So there will be lack of public personnels, and in that case, the criminals may have motivations that no one is here that will control us. So we should think strategically. Long-term vision, even overall aspects should be considered, and we should consider that how much people are happy with that thing. If people are not looking to accept that idea, we should not execute that. It happened earlier. देखो क्या हुआ? What happens? It was the year 2013, and it is a part of your general study. In 2013, a new Land Acquisition Act were implemented. What it says? It says that land can only be acquired if 80% people in rural area and 70% people in urban area satisfy with the proposal, satisfy with that plan. Suppose, and what happens? So suppose, suppose here if government is looking to construct a school, college, now 80% people must be in favor of that development, only then it will work. So it seems that it may stop, it may hinder our development activity. हाँ, सर्विस वहां पे कर ही नहीं पाएंगे. We will not execute the policy there. But here the issue is that 70% means democracy. If suppose this is the welfare for all, the plan is welfare for all, in that case people must accept that idea. If suppose the negative aspect of that plan would be greater, in that case 70% will not come forward. That is the issue. So government what did? Modi government during early days, means first Modi government, recognize that this is an impediment, this is a hindrance for the development activity, and they attempted to amend that law. Thereafter, widespread protest, and finally government say no, we will not execute that. So reason behind it, it is based on the principle of democracy. So what people seeks, that will be the agenda of government. We should not go against the people. So this is democratically. Serve citizen, not customer. Means each and every individual, whether it is service seeker or not, administration should provide the same services, same degree of services to all. Suppose it is scheduled tribes and they are not availing or paying electric bills. In that case, we cannot say that you will not eligible for electricity. ऐसा हो सकता है if custom consumer they are not. Accountability for public service. Accountability, again, value people, not just productivity. People means what? People means their status, their condition. If suppose an elder people is there, so government should consider that services must be given to them as per their requirement. If disabled is there, different kind of service should be given to them. That will be idea of the public NPS, and value citizenship, public services ever entrepreneurship. Government is not for business. Entrepreneurship will be the task of the private sector. Government is for welfare of the people, and this must be the principle, the central policy for the NPM. Only then NPM will provide the best result. So whenever NPM comes, we should write all such point one by one. Okay, this is NPM. This is the limitations of NPM, but NPM cannot be avoided. If NPM is being avoided, it means again corruption will be there, again wastage will be there, again inefficiency will be there. So NPM has potential to curb all such, but it has potential for administrative breakdown. So this is the nature of the topic. Again, we can say that again, good governance, idea of good governance must be added with this NPM. So this way we can develop the fresh model for our administration. ठीक है, तो we have concluded this topic. Okay, now time have also passed. So in the next class, means on Monday, we discuss one more topic, that is the good governance, and thereafter public choice approach. So both topic will be, good governance is one of the basic topic. Actually, good governance, actually there is misinterpretation about good governance. We will discuss what is the misinterpretation and what is the real meaning of good governance. इसका misinterpretation, what is the misinterpretation here? So the idea of good governance were forwarded by whom? It was World Bank in 1989. So people usually criticizes this. They says that it was the obligatory term. It was the compelling condition. So one should not accept this. But the nature of good governance is not forwarded by the World Bank. Rather, it has separate meaning. Good plus governance. It is the, we can say, philosophical idea. What is good? So here, good means the best, means the optimal, means the ideal system. So it is not basically associated with good governance, rather the name merely forwarded by the World Bank. So we will discuss that point. ठीक है, तो ending this class, Deepika, if you have any doubt or queries, you can even write here. We will discuss that. Ending this class.